Hopefully, nope. Apparently, I had to
No,
click OK one last time. Sorry, we did not even do that. Sorry about that.
are we going?
Yeah, we're going.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Gaytriarchy number 6, which apparently doesn't have a name because, to be perfectly honest,
Last time, sorry, we did not even do that.
Cats isn't our Cat's
Sorry about
Gay
that.
isn't here today because of crap. Uh, he is out of commission for personal reasons just for the evening, and we were busy all day, and we were all sort of scrambling, and that's not a very good intro. Let me start again. Are you a gay guy? Are you interested in men's rights? Did you realize that feminism is not interested in men's rights? Did you realize that feminism took over the gay male community? Do you think that that's weird? Are you not a gay guy who's realized that feminism has taken over the gay male community, and you think that that's weird? Do you want to at least listen to some people who think that talk about how that's bad? Because that's what we do. That's what we do around here. And we normally have 4 co-hosts, like I kind of mentioned, but today there's 3 of the co-hosts, and we have our guest from last week because I spent most of the day writing people trying to get a last minute guest, and I got a lot of people saying that they were interested in coming on some point in the future, but they couldn't do it tonight, which is cool. And it's also cool to have last week's guest back because I want to hear more from him. And I think that we're largely going to be just going through news stories and such things. So yeah, that was a horrible intro. I had actually done an intro, and because we thought that we were live, and then it turned out that we weren't. So I apologize, everybody. But yeah. Okay.
So, anyways, starting off tonight, we have Univision is apparently facing massive. Well, shit has hit the fan with them.
Wait. Let's just go
Hmm.
around and everyone sort of say hi
Yeah.
first.
Okay.
Hi, Derek.
Oh, hey, this is Spacepan. I do
Oh,
commentary from an
sorry.
atheist, anarchist, and anti-feminist perspective. I call myself a radical MRA because I like to use spicy rhetoric because, frankly, I think that the men's rights movement has a lot of one-move checkmates and we should start fucking acting like it.
Yeah, you get to be my bad cop, and I get to pretend to be reasonable. I like that dynamic.
And I am Saint of Bacon, the person who is, well, here. That's all I got, really, for right now. OBS is doing something weird.
Oh, stop it. Give yourself some more credit. You do so much work helping get all this shit set up and everything.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
true. It's stuff that I don't even know is going on. I'm like, just God, yeah, I'm busy. Yeah.
You're like the skeleton of the Gaytriarchy in a way because you set up the OBS and
I don't even know how to use
I don't
OBS.
know how to use it. It looks hard. I know how to watch it when other people set it up.
I've never even seen what it looks like. I don't even use Discord.
Hmm.
I've fallen in love with Discord lately. It's been so much fun. I don't
I'm
know.
not going to use Discord until it stops being some weird liability where people think that you're either a Nazi or a doxer if you're on it. So,
Oh, well, I'm trying to get on the ADL's list, so I need to keep using it.
Well, according to
That's
some
my
people,
goal.
I'm already a Nazi, so might as well.
That's
uh,
right. If you're going to get the label, you might as well get the Hugo Boss outfits.
Mm-hmm.
Feral Cat, good to have you back.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Um, did you drastically grow as a person since last week? In any significant way that you want to tell us about after having a chat with us, or should we get to that later?
Well, I learned, if anything, when it comes to shows like this, prepare.
Yeah, well, we weren't very prepared in having you on. That was partially our bad. Like, we weren't really sure. Like, we just like haven't been compiling lists of people that we are potentially interested in having on, and then we end up just sort of like winging it, and that's partially our end. But hopefully after things have marinated a little bit and you're more used to being on live streams and more used to bouncing ideas off of people that uh think similarly in the gay male community, these types of shows will come a little bit easier for everyone, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. I think just if I had to relax a little bit, because last time was my first live stream ever. Yeah, I know, virgin, but I think this one will go a lot better.
Cool. Well, I'm betting money on it. I literally bet $40 that this one's going to be better.
Nice.
Wait, did you
Actually,
really?
no, I bet $20 in the way that I ordered food instead of walking to get food because I was trying so hard to like find an extra guest. So if that counts. Anyhow, maybe now we should start going to the news.
Okay, so our first news story is basically Univision's shat the bed and is possibly going to implode. Uh, all I really know is what Tim Pool's talked about. Basically, they've absorbed a crapload of other subsites. They're not making enough money because they wanted to peddle a narrative, which is all social justice all the time. And yeah, as everyone knows, social justice doesn't make money. So
No, it ruins money. It makes people just not want to go anywhere near anything. It ruined Star Wars. It ruined, what was that video game? Mass Effect Andromeda. It ruined Marvel comic books. It actually makes things non-profitable.
mm-hmm.
I think mainly because aside from just the weird preachiness, I think that just in simple terms it makes things non-believable. Like, all of a sudden we're supposed to suspend our disbelief and believe that we live in this world where everybody's diverse, except for they're not really diverse. They're all queer, trans, black women of color, or something. It's very slanted towards the intersectional feminist version of diversity, which basically just means anybody besides white straight men, and really anybody besides white men more and more. And when you start trying to artificially stimulate that as your reality in media, or probably really anything, you're going to stop making so much money, because we do live in a white majority nation and males tend to be, on average, people who work more than females. So if you're cutting out the more productive sex out of the biggest slice of the pie in your nation, you're cutting off all of those workers from being productive to the economy. So if you're fucking with them, you're going to tank the economy of whatever you're doing that to.
Not to mention that Univision is the biggest Spanish language network in the U.S. And from my own personal experience, Mexican people aren't really that progressive, or at least enough for them to maybe make money off of. So that also kind of screwed them over. They alienated their only other base to make money off of.
Wait, can I ask you, what is Univision exactly?
Basically, it's Mexican NBC.
Okay, so no, so is Univision is the empire that it owns.
It owns Fusion, Vice, and it bought up what part of Gawker that survived.
Oh, so it owns Vice, and it owns the things from Gawker that survived, like
Gizmodo,
Jezebel,
Kotaku, Jezebel. Yeah, at least I think they own
The
Vice.
Gizmodo shit.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know this.
Oh.
So basically, they gave themselves a cancer transplant, and now they're dying.
Yeah, more or less. This is
I'm
Well,
glad
you know,
someone tried. I'm glad someone tried that. Now we know. Now we know.
this is
We know what
Montezuma's,
happens.
this is Montezuma's revenge in action.
Oh my god. Yeah.
but you know, there's something interesting about Vice that a lot of people don't realize is that like Vice actually used to be cool. And I know it, you know, it sounds weird now, but that's Vice magazine used to be Gavin McInnes. Like before YouTube was a thing, and before Gavin even I think ever really talked much live, he was the sort of the main editor of Vice, and that was his thing. And Vice magazine was located in New York City, and it was about, you know, 18 years ago was when it started getting big, and it was this, you know, totally edgelord hipster publication. It was a magazine, and if you lived in New York, you could get the magazine for free because they knew that New Yorkers were such trendsetters that if everybody was reading their magazine, and you know, if they made it accessible to New Yorkers, then that would influence New York culture, and then it would be a sort of a symbiosis thing. They had a good business strategy in that way. But then people in other cities had to pay for it, and pay for it they did. But it was savage back in the day. Like those what was it called? Do you guys ever read the actual magazine, Vice magazine?
No, I do not. Oh, no, I do not. And I actually just fact checked myself. I don't think Univision owns Vice, but I remember there's something with this controversy that Vice has been involved with.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of Vice, though, they totally interviewed me back in 2014.
Cool.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
I think you can still find it. Because I was at the International Conference for Men's Issues that A Voice for Men held, and like right after I interviewed them, they were like, "You realize like we weren't supposed to talk to the media, right? Because they're just gonna try to make hit pieces, and they're probably gonna take you out of context." And I was like, "Fuck ever." Like they interviewed me for like 20 minutes or whatever, asked me all kinds of different issues, but they didn't use any of that. They ended up just using a clip of like me sounding gay and segueing into the fact that Indians were there, but they couldn't like hit me on anything else. I didn't like say anything incriminating, I guess. I don't know. Like all the hit pieces that came out around the ICMI, they're really fucking funny. Like there's this GQ article that came out like almost a full year after the fact where they tried really, really hard to make it a hit piece, and they like doctored up all the photos and shit. It was like, anyway, but yeah, that's still out there somewhere. Like they interviewed me. I don't know if they like took that down or whatever. I know they changed like the headline of that article and stuff. There's a bunch of shit they did that was weird.
Well, I'm okay. I'd like to
That
know.
girl was a bitch too. Sorry.
I'd like to know the exact connection between Vice and you know, this Univision thing. But it's interesting enough to know that the Gawker subsidiaries are connected to Univision now, because that means that things like Jezebel might be going down, which is great news, because Jezebel was really the first of the fourth wave feminist blogs that really I don't know if it was officially the first, but it's the one that, you know, was significant.
It got popular.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of really, really heinous stuff written on Jezebel, but the thing about Jezebel is, unlike everyday feminism, which is just, you know, it's almost like you feel bad for everyday feminism because it's like actually mentally challenged, and it can't even write a coherent sentence, and it's just like you're imagining who's writing this, and then it actually is a black lesbian in a wheelchair with mental problems, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but with Jezebel, it's fucking rich white bitches like Lindy West who are actually smart, who are just fucking awful people.
Oh no, it's totally that same divide as before with like black womanists and like second wave feminists, and like Jezebel are like the white feminists who like talk about petty bullshit, and it appeals to like upper class women who are into feminism and just totally shuts out like all the poor ones. It's like super funny how they just recreate these structures over and over again.
Yeah, it is large. I mean, there's the intersectionals, and then there's the white feminists, and the white feminists pretend to be intersectionals, but we all know they're not, and everything like that. That's a definite definite present divide. I wouldn't say that everyday feminism gets to be the womanist blog, though. I would say that that would be more of the fringy blogs that don't really exist anymore, like the blog Black Girl Dangerous, which is very, very odd. Look into that author. Her name was Mia McKenzie, and she was a certifiable crazy person, but I don't even think that that blog is running anymore. Regardless, let's keep going in this article. I'm sorry, on the sidetrack.
It's all right. Let me. It's a three. The Forbes article is 3 pages long, so I'd prefer not to read all of it. So I'll just try to summarize what's going on in here. Basically, a day after Univision scrapped their IPO and replaced the CFO with some guy from somewhere else. Yeah. Oh fuck. Sorry. I'm actually not gonna. Does anyone else want to read through all of this? Because I really don't.
Okay, let me just so basically this whole thing is doing a bunch of layoffs, and so this is a lot of different things. Fusion was really big. They actually made videos that would be all over Facebook all the time, and and there were some of the really, really bad ones, like in the same league as Dot Mike and
BuzzFeed.
Yeah, and BuzzFeed, and BuzzFeed has recently had to do all these layoffs. So basically, all this like bad new media seems to be dying. Is the point? And it's this weird moment in culture where, people are wondering: is the establishment because okay, is the establishment media going to eventually die too? And that is the greater question here. These are media sites that were new media sites 10, 12 years ago, and then they became very clearly bought out and very clearly corporate, and not just corporate but with a very clear political bias towards the Democratic Party. And in particular, it became that way after 2012, non-coincidentally, when Obama legalized the usage of propaganda on the American people. So this stuff is starting to die out, but what's likely going to happen is that the cloud of new media, these bubbles that have formed in the sky, they're gonna burst, and there's gonna be a new cloud. I'm coming up with some horrible metaphor, but bloggers like the YouTubers that you guys watch are going to be vulnerable to selling out, because there's always going to be a market for this kind of politically biased propaganda that can go around social media. Maybe it's not going to be on Facebook. Maybe Facebook's going to crumble. But, if you were a very, very rich politician and you no longer had a platform like Fusion and Jezebel to peddle your fucking, as Spacepan would say it, to peddle your communist bullshit, if you can't peddle your communist bullshit directly through Fusion by way of Facebook, then how are you going to peddle it? Well, there's all these YouTubers with 200,000 subscribers. Why don't I pay some of them off? And that might start happening more and more. So always anticipate the future is what I'm trying to say here.
Not to mention, I was watching Tim Pool's video about this. He was mentioning how all of these, intersectional social justice sites, they barely sustain themselves on their revenue. Like, it never made sense for anything like Univision to try to go into this. It's really fucking stupid from a business standpoint. I mean, hell, everyday feminism can't even keep its lights on hardly, and Univision was going to buy out the, I'm assuming, Spanish version of them.
Yeah, I don't think that they legitimately actually made a whole bunch of money. That's just a guess.
Well,
just a guess.
Well, if Univision's having to consider just axing them, I'm pretty sure they've lost a lot of money to not be worth keeping around anymore.
Yeah. Turns out people don't like being lied to, and people can tell when they're being lied to reasonably well. Okay, I don't know if I really have anything else to say about that. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on to the next article that we are going to look at.
The next article is the Toronto gay bathhouse apologizes to refusing entry to men wearing makeup. This was going to be RCAT's gay article for those of you in chat, so I will just read through this one, and then we'll comment when we have something to comment about, because
Wait, so it hasn't showed up on the view screen
Oh.
yet, and I honestly, there we go. So, yeah, Steamworks, blah, 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 blah. Can we just scroll down to the picture of the motherfucker for a second?
Sure.
Before
the
we even...
reporter or the people who got... Or this monstrosity.
The guy who, yeah...
Knock off Kesha?
Is that what we are going to call him? So, I'm still waiting for the view screen to catch up. I just remember looking at him, and I needed to say a few things about his actual outfit and how horrible it was, because, okay, so I'm looking at this guy. First of all, what is that hat? That's not a leather guy hat. That's like a Pillsbury Doughboy hat, fucking dyed black. Like, I don't know where he got that. Second of all, let's look at his necklace thing. That's a girl's necklace, and it's okay. If it was cute early this decade, you know. The shirt is no, that's last decade.
It's very Hot Topic.
Yeah, the jacket, okay, with his outfit, the jacket just doesn't work. If his jacket was black fur, he could maybe pull that off. But because of the fact that he's wearing literally 3 different shades of pink, that's his major mistake. Like, he has pink around the eyes, pink on his jacket, and pink on his shirt. And it just looks like he's just this, like, scuzzy fucking mess. If he had cute style, this whole thing would have never happened.
Yeah, well, I can't disagree with you there.
Okay, so where's let's read through the article though. Can you read it?
Sure. Let me scroll back to the top.
Okay.
Okay, anyways, Toronto Bathhouse Steamworks is apologizing to patrons who were turned away at the door for wearing makeup. The patrons alleged that they were told that they were in violation of the Men's Only Club policy banning makeup, which management says does not exist. The club, located in Toronto's gay village, no shit, is promising that all staff will be trained to be aware that although the club is only for men, it is trans inclusive. Why a trans person would go there, I don't know. The controversy arose after DJ Scooter McCready posted on Twitter about being turned away from Steamworks for wearing makeup. Well, we already noticed your monstrosity. McCready, who is a cisgender man, was wearing pink and blue eyeshadow and silver nail polish when he arrived at Steamworks around 2:30 in the morning on March 21st. He says the doorman told him he couldn't wear makeup inside. He says you can't wear that inside, and I'm like, I'm going to be like naked inside, so no problem, McCready says. But he couldn't remove
he couldn't remove the nail polish.
Remove the nail polish. Damn it. I'm sorry. This is just so stupid. I just feel like how do we care? I just don't get it. Like,
no, but it's one of those things where it's like he's telling this story, and the lack of self-awareness is just so obvious. Like, no, dude, people just hate you. Like, there was gonna be no excuse that you could come up with and still get in. It's you. It's not your outfit. It's fucking you.
We can just look at you.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah. Like, the next part of it, I just left. I was not in the mood for any confrontation in this space, he says. Really what it comes down to is they weren't into what I was presenting that night and used whatever rule they had to deny me entry. And it's like, yeah, so we're all in agreement then.
Yeah,
like, they just didn't want you in there.
He really looks like the
person
that... He looks like the kind of person that doesn't want to cause a scene or draw any undue attention. Wow.
Yeah. So after 5 minutes, I decided that I wasn't in the mood for any confrontation, and I stormed out crying. Like, yeah. It reminds me. I had a friend who had this really funny diary from when he was in college. He kind of slowly came out at college, but it was in a small town, and he never went to a big gay city to just be crazy and gay. So he went to Melbourne, Australia for study abroad, and he just decided to be completely slutty, and he was like 20 or something, so he's there and he sleeps with like half the guys in Melbourne, and it gets to a point where apparently everybody at all the gay bars just hated him and thought he was awful. And but he kept a sex journal for like all the guys he had sex with, and he would like tell stories about the nights that he went out and everything. It was basically his like gay journal.
That's like more work than fucking the dudes. That's like doubling your work.
Well, it's awesome because he still has it, and we would get to read it. And there's this one entry where he's talking about being at a bar and how hard it was to get served, and he was like, God, the bartender just didn't see me. I don't know why he didn't see me, blah 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 blah. And it's like, dude, he hates you. He doesn't want to serve you, but he just doesn't know. And guys like this, like weird gay guys, I don't know, they get so used to this notion that everybody hates them that it's never occurred to them that sometimes people could like them, and maybe they just have to do things that are different, and maybe they will not hate them and kick them out of places. I don't know.
I just feel like the whole point of like bars and clubs though is that they can kind of have a style, and in theory it should attract the people who are in line with that style, you know what I mean? So like it shouldn't even be a conflict. Like if you're trying to force yourself into a place that isn't your style, like it can't be the fucking place you want to be anyway. You should want to go to a place that's more your style and your jam. So I don't understand. So it's totally manufactured. It just, and like, the fact that they have no like legit rule to kick them out, it's like, that's fine. Like they should be able to refuse anyone for any reason they want, even if it's like totally terrible.
Yeah.
Like it's private property.
I've worked a lot in customer services. There's the whole, I have the right to refuse service to you no matter what kind of bullshit. I don't need to give you a reason to kick you out or not let you in.
Yeah, and I think that's wonderful. And like there's a point in the workforce where like the customer is always right, but that's only for like bullshit entry level retarded retail shit. At the moment you go anywhere above that, you realize, oh no, customers are fucking idiots and they're always wrong. You just tell them to go fuck themselves and get better clients.
Especially in technology.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, user error, it's real.
ID 10T.
I think user error needs a fucking ribbon.
Or a helmet.
It would be really funny if there was like a so Oliver Warm Flash says, who wants to go to a gay steam bath filled with transsexuals? That's actually a very interesting question. It does happen. Well, and it does happen in places like the San Francisco Bay Area and Portland and Seattle, where transgender men show up to have sex with gay men. And there's this one dude actually wrote an article about going to a bathhouse while being a trans man. Now, he takes testosterone and has had top surgery and looks like a guy. I've actually met him before. But he talks about how like one guy came up to try to hook up with him and went to grab his dick, and then there was nothing there, and kind of had a shocked look and says like, oh, and I think that his response was different kind of man or something like that. It's kind of weird. I don't want to say that, if you look like a guy, at least with your clothes on, fine, you can go into the goddamn bathhouse. Like, as far as I'm concerned, that would be just my thing. But wouldn't it be kind of interesting if bathhouses had two sets of security at the door? There was like the muscle security, and then there was the you look like a woman too much to me. I don't believe that you're really a man. You don't quite pass enough for me set of security. I'm not saying they should have that, but it'd be funny if they did.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny, but that'll never happen anywhere near where, well, there's a neighborhood.
Someone mentioned the gay wedding cake thing. I just have to say, like, man, all these gay people who are trying to twist Christians' arms into making wedding cakes, I literally hope the Christians say, you know what? Fuck turning the other cheek. Fuck all this. I'm going to poison the fucking cake. I don't care what happens. Like, seriously, this is some bullshit. And, like, no, why do you want that cake? It's my wedding. I want it to be perfect, and I want to make sure whoever made the cake fucking hates me and that I forced them to make my cake. Like, you're gonna get a good cake that way? No, you're gonna get the lowest common denominator. Like, you're gonna get whatever cake they could have made that doesn't get them sued. That's what you're gonna get. Like, how do you not have like trendy lesbian friends who can make you a cake instead? I don't get it.
Yeah, neither
I
do
thought
I.
cakes wouldn't rise properly without tears.
Well, you never know.
Male tears?
All tears.
Wouldn't lesbian I hate the patriarchy that doesn't exist tears be the sweetest?
Yeah, I want to get like a trendy lesbian friend to make my gay wedding cake, and then she'll be like, "Oh, but you're an anti-feminist. I'm gonna have to cry into the whole thing. It's gonna be the greatest cake ever."
Yeah, I've decided that when I get married, I'm basically I want to do like Chinese food, so they only care about the money. They don't care about whether or not I'm gay or whatever, or bi or whoever.
Well, and then how do we get to pretend that gay issues are real if like the number one thing is like these fucking wedding cakes? Like, okay, like,
Never mind
Yeah,
all
no,
the drug
it's-
addiction.
Well, and yeah,
like
and-
shit, like they ruined the whole thing. It's just like, oh, if this is the issue now, if this is where the narrative is gone, then I guess we're done.
Yeah, well, no, and that's the problem. The obvious reason why is because we're not allowed to talk about male issues, and all of the gay issues happen to be gay male issues, and there's some sort of, Venn diagram overlap between gay and male intersectionality, and that's what we need to be talking about in the community, but we're not allowed because feminism.
Do you guys want to hear something controversial?
Let's hear it.
I don't think intersectionality is actually totally wrong. Like, if you apply it consistently and logically and correctly in high resolution, the logical result of intersectionality is you have a bunch of individuals.
Yeah.
And I asked my philosophy professors, my philosophy advisor, she was an eco-feminist, right? And I was like, isn't it the logical implication of intersectionality that you just have a bunch of individuals? And she said, yes, but we only care about the differences that make a difference.
Yeah. And what
So
about
that was her
and
argument
what-
for bringing it
and what about
low
if-
resolution.
And what about if one of those differences has to do with being male? Oh, no, not that. Fuck that. Never mind.
No, fuck that. Black male, that is not intersectional. That's just blackness. That is not blackness times maleness. And like that's the number one argument. You just go straight for like, okay, black males, blackness, maleness.
Yeah.
They'll talk about blackness. They won't talk about maleness.
No,
And they certainly won't talk
and they will say that the black male has male privilege. And
Yeah,
that's
which
why
is just
it's-
retarded.
And that's why, this idea of intersectionality, I was actually just talking about this in a recent video, the one about why fourth wave feminism is the only feminism that matters. Kind of like in the way that your philosophy professor said, pragmatically, it's like let's talk about the things that matter. Benjamin Boyce, who I enjoy,
I love him.
yeah, he just sort of refers to what I've often referred to as fourth wave intersectional feminist social justice. He refers to it as intersectionality. But I think that that's a problem. That's just a slight error in definition because of the fact that the feminism part is so important. Like it's not intersectionality, it's intersectional feminism. Period. Like there's no divorcing the feminism from it because it came from feminism, and that is their primary purpose, is to evangelize the world into the feminist ideology. And intersectionality is just a little code word that they tack on to make it look like they care about other people besides fucking cisgender women.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, so I guess like this guy in the article, it's just like I don't know. Like, I feel bad. Like, I don't want anyone to get denied from a club or whatever. Like, it's shitty all around. I feel bad for the guy. I just feel like there's got to be a place out there where he can go and just be himself and not have to take off his makeup or his nail polish, even if he was able to.
Well, I bet you know what though. Here's the thing. I would bet money. I would bet $20 to, and actually somebody in the chat says that they live in the city with him and has seen him around. I'd bet money that he's been there before, and for whatever reason, the management has a problem with him. I mean, look at him. It's not like he doesn't do drugs. Like, he's more than likely been seen there fucking sniffing poppers and sniffing cocaine and sticking, I don't know, phenobarbital up his asshole or something.
Oh, thank God. I thought you were about to say gerbils.
Thank God it was just phenobarbital, because we didn't want to be that degenerate level.
No, I mean, look at him. It's like what he obviously, but like, okay, if somebody's a customer at your club and they've paid to get in and you're some sort of security or something, and someone goes in and they're just like, and they're like, in a fucking K-hole and just having all sorts of risky sex or hoping that they can have risky sex, but nobody will fuck them because they're a mess. If you are aware that your customer is behaving in such a way, you're not necessarily going to think it's worth it to kick them out at the time and tell them why. But you might tell all the workers, hey, that fucking queen with the little glitter and shit, don't let him back in because he was totally smoking meth, and they might, that's a very, very, likely thing. But you also can't necessarily say, yeah, we saw you smoking meth last time, that's why you're not allowed back in, because that would imply that they saw you smoking meth but didn't do anything about it. So you'd have to come up with an excuse. And that's probably what it was. And this queen is like, I don't know, turning it into some sort of a like, oh my God, my makeup, they're misogynists. And it's like, oh, please. I'm sure there's something more to it.
It's just 15 minutes of fame. That's all it is.
Oh my God. This person says, I found him smoking meth in an ATM one night. Well, I don't know if that's okay. I don't know if I believe you. I have to like, this is the anonymous internet. Like, I can't just believe everything that's told to me, but I wouldn't doubt it.
No. Their previous comment was gerbil the transsexual is always high. So I think they meant like a hypothetical gerbil up like the worst kind of gay man's ass is like always fucking on drugs. I thought that was how I interpreted it.
Okay.
Is this guy's name Gerbil? I mean, it could be.
Oh God.
It is now.
Okay.
Well, while we're on this subject, if my shitternet will load it, I actually wanted to share something that I found funny this week. Have you guys heard of the new Teen Titans live-action television show?
No, but I want to see. I really love Teen Titans.
Wait, did you link this to us? I didn't need to see this one.
I actually just remembered this just as we were looking at that monstrosity.
Oh my God.
Okay, so then if we run out of shit, I have some hilarious Margaret Mead shit. I'm just gonna throw that out there, but it can be saved for next week also. Just throwing it out there.
Okay.
But I want to hear about Teen Titans.
Hold on, it's not something that I really want to talk about, but just because that one guy who was a monstrosity, if I can get him to pull up, or her to pull up. Okay, so I just put it live on the screen right now, for if you guys haven't seen it.
Oh, I did actually.
Yeah,
hear somebody talking about fucking Starfire and saying that she looks fucking like crap.
Yeah, she looks like a black drag queen, basically.
It hasn't showed up on the view screen yet.
Hopefully.
Oh my God. What the hell?
I mean, hey, Raven looks like a man, so I mean, step up.
Well, okay, but that's not an inaccurate depiction of Raven. Like that works for Raven and that works for Beast Boy, but that does not work for Starfire. It just doesn't. And I would be fine with it being a black girl if they did it right. It would
If it was
probably
an
be
actual
best.
black girl.
Well, it would probably be best to be a lighter skinned, just because so Starfire is from the planet Tamarin, and everybody from Tamarin is orange skinned, and there's a lot of fairly orangish skinned African American people, and you could find somebody that would look like that. It wouldn't be that hard, and that would be perfect, but that girl that they got, it's like fucking 12 years a slave, fucking shade of black, and it's not it doesn't look like her at all.
No, it does not.
I do think though there is a lot of leeway when you're going from this style of cartoon to live action. Maybe not quite that much, but like there's enough that like I wouldn't say this Starfire is ruining it. Like I
Okay,
think that
let's
if you
look at
really
the
want it to work, you could bite the bullet and just suck it up.
but let's look at the comic, the original, because the comic already looks quite different than the cartoon.
Oh, there's a comic too. I didn't even know
Yeah,
that. I don't know
there's a
anything
comic.
about Teen Titan. I just think
Oh,
I never liked it. I always thought it was bad. I'm sorry. I just never watched it.
Yeah, well, it's a really actually amazing,
Mhm.
and you're awful, and you're going to be kicked off this podcast. So.
I've just been listening to Eurovision all like my life, so I don't have time.
Shun.
No, the Teen Titans comic books are actually amazing. In particular, the ones from the 1980s. If you ever want to order the graphic novels of the compilations from the 1980s, like when they had when Raven and the Donna Troy version of Wonder Girl, not Cassie. Cassie's the new Wonder Girl, and she's blonde and she's lame. But the Donna Troy Wonder Girl, when she was actually on the team, and then before Robin evolved into Nightwing, when it was just Dick Grayson as Robin, he was cool. And yeah, those are really good. You should watch them. I'm quite worried about this show that they have.
Yeah, I mean, like all white knight for bronies all day, but I just don't know about this fucking show.
Oh my god, chat's just slaying her. Oh god. Looks like your superpowers are weave. God damn, Jarl SWAT. Anyways,
Can we talk about this though? I would love for there to be like a crew of superheroes that are all just like really, really like dial 11 racial stereotypes that all have powers based on their races. And like they could just go total ham with it, right? Like the black chick has like super thick hair that like binds people, right? And like the Asian will have, I don't know, like some kind of Asian ability.
Sonic
The
K-pop
Jew will do a
powers.
bunch of like really shisty shit behind the scenes, and you don't see him till like near the end, and they come out and it's like, dude, I fucking told you the whole time, because that's what the white person's been saying the whole time, and that's been their whole joke, is that they've been blaming the Jews even though you didn't see them the whole time, but then at the end they were vindicated. Anyway, I have dreams is the point.
Well, MLK had a dream and it wasn't this. I can guarantee you that.
All I'm saying, show me the live action version of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and then sure, I'll bitch about like you casting the ponies as a black chick. That's where I draw the line. Unless it's Twilight. Twilight can be black because she's purple.
The My Little Pony show was good though.
It was so good. Like, I'm sorry if that makes me a total stereotype, but I didn't finish the second season. It wasn't that good. It didn't have that much drugs, but like the first season was worth it. And it's worth it so that it makes the first episode of the second season, which is a two-parter. That's fantastic. Like, that's a standalone movie. Just watch that shit. Sorry.
Yeah, like I remember when it first came out on YouTube or fucking Netflix, and I don't know, I was like just home alone and smoking pot, and I watched the first couple of episodes. And
Oh my god, who died and made you me? No, my fucking manager at Hallmark was like, you should watch Friendship is Magic. And I was like, how the fuck did you know I wasn't doing anything? And she was right. She was wrong about, like, turns out she's like a radical feminist, and like we had disagreements on Facebook later, but But the point is, she showed me the way with friendship is magic. So I can never take that away from her.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I discovered it on my own and actually had to tell other people to watch it. I was like, you guys, do you know what's randomly pretty good is the My Little Pony show. I didn't know it'd become a thing where there's a subculture called bronies. I think I was the original brony.
And they all believed you, right? And then they all watched it.
Yeah, no, they did.
Yeah, they were. Wait, did they really?
Well, I don't know if they all watched it, but they believed that it was good. They were very interested in hearing about it.
God, my friends are dicks.
Well, my friend, I'm not friends with those same people anymore. I forsaked them.
I showed my same friends Netta Barzilai, the person who's representing Israel in Eurovision, and I'm like, dude, she's so fucking cool. And my friend's like, I don't like her because she's fat. And I'm like, you're the worst kind of gay. Like, goddamn it, I have one gay friend, and it's like the worst kind. Ugh.
Well, is he a gym type or an anorexic type?
I guess he's a gym type technically. He does go to the gym.
Okay, but I mean, you can be both, I guess, anorexic and gym type.
I don't know. We could bring him on the stream, and you could ask him.
Yeah, we should sometime.
He has like a real job with like a real career, so he might not want to be associated with us. No offense.
No, that's what a lot of the people were sort of. Well, actually, only one of them said today, but
Speaking of which, this is a slightly off topic. I'm just going to throw it in there really quick. Styx Hexenhammer announced that he's going to run for Vermont governor. Holy shit. Do you know what would happen if he won? He would win on a platform where he's like, one, no campaign funds. Fuck that. I'm on the internet. Why are you fuckers asking for fucking money for your fucking stupid campaigns? Second, no undershirt. I'm in my fucking leather jacket with my fucking open bare chest, like not cutting my hair. Like I want him to win so bad, but like half of his fucking people are gonna write in Styx Hexenhammer 666, so it's not gonna he's gonna lose because of that. But like shit, if he were to win, imagine the precedent. Fucking YouTubers could fucking just run. Like shit, if he won Shark, I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna fucking run for parliament. Like suck my dick. I want that reality.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if Jake Paul ever runs for fucking governor of California.
Honestly, I'm okay with war with Syria if Jake Paul runs for governor or something. I'll be like, okay, we broke even.
So let's go to the next article.
Okay.
On a related note.
So this one, for those of you watching in chat, was kind of our runner-up for, I don't know, whatever we're gonna call cringe of the week. Was Amazon selling straight pride badges and people aren't happy. The response I would have to say is a little bit more cringy than the fact that anyone actually did this.
Yeah, agreed, right? Like I'm like so over this like caring about it's like, well, no, in the current world, I can see why straight people would want something. And the fact that people actually care is like,
due to the tenets of intersectionality, we all should have a pride, even though it'll be nothing or mean nothing after we're done.
Yeah. Well, and it does look like that. And by the way, whoever said that it looks kind of like bacon, I think somebody said in the article, it's kind of true, and it does kind of look like your avatar.
It does look like bacon, except for it's cheap Amazon bacon.
Saint of Bacon is dog whistling straight pride. I'm calling it now. I'm going to send an email.
Oh my god, if the ADL says that whenever I make it, oh my god, I will be so happy.
I just love this comment. This is actually really gross and homophobic. Like, I have zero doubt to the legitimacy of that tweet. Like, yeah, they legitimately think that because they said gross. Like, only they.
Like, what?
It's actually really gross and homophobic.
It is really gross.
It's icky and gross.
You have to read it in the native tongue.
It's actually really gross and homophobic.
Like, oh my god.
It's like Ickens. I wouldn't even wear it on my eyes.
But
although the next comment, though, the irony of a straight pride flag being an eyeshadow palette, that's funny.
But don't you kind of want?
Ken from Twitter.
Don't you kind of want one now, though?
Yeah?
Yes.
Dude, the straights are totally fucking oppressed. They can't even have a fucking pin badge without the faggots, like, fucking hounding it on them and being dicks about it. Like, this person later on being like, As a straight person, I would like to wait, no, fuck that person. No, I want being straight is not easy under the circumstances of our society. Straight people are being persecuted every day by political correctness. And it's like, oh my god, like I get it. No one likes political correctness, but go fuck yourself. Persecuted? Like shit, bitch. Like that's the same standard that they use to justify political correctness. Like go fuck yourself.
Oh, well,
I don't think it's straight people. I think it's people who won't call themselves queer.
Wait, are we queer?
No, fuck no. We're the Gaytriarchy. We are the antidote to queer.
Wait, y'all are gay?
Yes.
We are
Well, you guys
homosexual.
are.
Oh, gee, look at the time.
Somehow I missed that part of the podcast. We should put it like somewhere in the first syllable of the name of it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
God damn you, the entire construct of having articles. Why did you have to come first?
Okay.
Gaystar News has contacted Amazon and is awaiting a response. The plot thickens. There's 11 comments here. I want to see if any of these comments are woke as fuck. It's a bear pride flag. Go look it up. They basically stole the bear pride flag. Wait, I gotta look this up. No way. Is there a bear pride flag?
There is a bear pride flag. I've actually used it in a thumbnail.
There is.
Yeah. But it doesn't
Yeah,
actually
you guys
look
both
like
would
it.
know that. It kind of does. There's a bear print on it though. That's kind of a game changer. A little bit adding the bear print to it.
Oh, speaking of uptight people and that are of the queer variety, I actually went to a gay community center's bisexual whatever day because I'm like, why not? Let's see what they're talking about.
And there were pansexual protesters.
No, it was actually in a building because it was raining, so they couldn't actually go outside. But anyways, the point is they were talking about, slurs and whatnot and reclaiming certain words. And this one girl who was like, I think 19 is like, I just can't say the word. And me just being like, not giving a shit. And like, okay, I'll say tranny.
You're an ass. I approve.
I mean,
When I was volunteering at the Twin Cities Men's Center with one of the workers there, and like he was a little bit more kind of progressive leaning, so he was kind of trying to figure out like what my views were, and I was trying to be kind of neutral because I'm just like I just want to host this red pill screening, and like I get that I'm like kind of the worst person to do this because I'm so fucking biased, right? so he's like kind of feminist. I'm trying to like explain it to him or whatever. And like I like throw out the word tranny, and he's like, some people find that offensive, and I'm just like, oh, I'm sorry, I met trannies that like being called trannies, so I'm like confused. And he's like, yeah, I did too, and I think it's also confusing. And I'm just like, what? Like, what do we do? Like, I don't get it. Like, he actually filmed a documentary though about, I was gonna say trannies, I mean, transsexual people. I need to watch that. But anyway, sorry, that was a tangent. But yeah, this fucking badge is fucking stupid. Like, and I don't understand like what. So like clearly it's Amazon, right? So they did some kind of research and they figured, oh yeah, if we make a straight pride badge and sell it on our website, then people will buy it because there's a need for it or a want for it. Like I don't get it.
But Amazon is so huge. It's not like this is not exactly I don't know what would be some sort of home catalog from the 1950s. It's fucking Amazon. Like you can put your kids and sell them up on Amazon, like it's not hard to get things for sale on Amazon.
I was under the impression that like Amazon specifically was selling this. So was it like a third-party vendor, like some of the other things are?
It's a third-party vendor. It's called
What
Thousand
the?
Flag.
Why is
UK.
this a story? So who? Oh my god, I want to.
Because the gays have no legitimate stories besides men's stories, and they won't publish them.
Yeah.
Dude, this is my favorite sentence in the whole article. The badge has only 2 reviews, and they both are only 1 star. Like what? Like.
Yeah, both from gays that probably don't have their fucking intersectional gold star, so that was their way of getting it.
Yeah, like a comment section
so
with 2
funny.
comments isn't a comment section. Like I don't.
The elephant in the room is in terms of gay culture is that gay men are in massive crisis because men are in crisis, but gay men are even more in crisis because it's, I mean, gay men always have it kind of worse than straight men, just overall, in the way that, you know, it sort of sucks to be a minority. It sort of sucks to not organically have families. It sort of sucks to be more likely to get STDs, and it sucks to be the particular type of minority that we are, that, you know, because we get STDs and we don't have families, then people, you know, and religious persecution, people tend to hate us. So the elephant in the room is obviously just how crappy things are in the gay male community, and that's why there's, you know, massive amounts of suicide and meth problems and STDs and STIs going up in frequency. um but, you know, you're not allowed to talk about really the real reasons why, because in order to admit to that, you'd have to admit that men have problems too, and that men aren't privileged. And so in order to, you know, kind of talk about something at all, you know, gay media has to just beat around the bush in every single way possible. And as they beat around the bush, they beat around every edge of the bush, that eventually there is no more bush and they have beaten upon it, and they reveal what it is that they are not trying to reveal, right? And I think that this is an example of that. This flag is an example of them showing that the real problem in the gay male community is intersectionality, and intersectionality is making it so that straight people want to have a part of this little weird oppression thing, and that is becoming a fight amongst itself. And somehow, it's like while the gays are fighting with the straights over this stupid thing, everybody with any sense can think to themselves, wait, this is all the feminists' fault. Like, this wouldn't be a fight without the feminists.
Yeah, more or less. Also, the feminist prince would like it if you beat around their bush a little bit. Just saying.
They finally got the gays to start beating Bush. Finally.
I was waiting for it.
Right? But you know what, though? Like, this is actually a great parallel to the women's movement. And this is something that, like, I'm just a massive douche toward women at all the time. Because I'm like, how come, like, your movement is pimping this issue? How come movement's pimping that issue? And they're just like, dude, I'm not even paying attention, right? And I'm like, yeah, but look what they're saying. And they're like, no, dude, what part of it I'm not paying attention do you not get? And I'm like, okay, fine. But I feel like now I get to still be that way and not be a hypocrite, because when the gays did the same shit on behalf of gays, like, I spoke up and I was like, you guys are fucking idiots. And,
Yeah.
like, we can build something better. So, like, basically, I think we're doing what, like, women need to do in regards to the women's movement.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and when gay people, okay, so here's the thing. Gay guys got really tacky. I mean, there's always a large contingent of extraordinarily tacky gays, but gays got really tacky all throughout the late 90s and the early 2000s. And when George W. Bush was in office, it became generally culturally acceptable to hate on gay people, blah blah blah. And he was talking about trying to make a constitutional amendment to make sure that gay people would never get to marry in the United States. And gay people were outraged. They were like, what? You know, like fucking Kyle's mom from South Park or whatever. And they wouldn't shut up about it, and that's all they would talk about. Meanwhile, war breaks out with Iraq, which everybody with any sense could tell was not a good war to fight. Like, it was like, what? Why are we doing this? And there was no good explanation, no exit strategy. We didn't, you know, you didn't have to be any sort of a military expert or political science expert to be able to tell that we shouldn't have gone into war in Iraq, at least certainly as quickly as we did and in the way that we did. Meanwhile, gays are like, but marriage. And then Bush was up for re-election. And so I was sitting there saying, like, hey, guys, you guys are being so fucking tacky. We have better things to think about than our fucking stupid ass marriage rights. And then they were like, you're wrong. You're internalized homophobia. That did happen at the time. But then, Bush got reelected, right? And I fucking gave them a big fat "I told you so," kind of like when Trump got elected. Except for I was like 23 or 22 or something. So it was a little bit more of a Theron Meyer, or not Theron Meyer, kind of a Blair White, like bitchy "I told you so," where I'm just like, I told you guys. Well. And at the time that kind of happened, but slowly but surely over the next couple of years, I ended up being right, and gay people stopped being so like rainbow pride, self-absorbed, obsessed with being gay, and just like tried to actually be interesting people a little bit more. Like gay guys sort of were cool for the latter part of last decade, and ended up having, there was like cool culture within gay culture, which stayed around all through probably 2012 or so, and then it started to slowly dry up. So what I'm saying is, bring back the shaming, the internal shaming of gay males, and tell them from within, you're not cool, you're awful, you make stupid arguments, you are self-absorbed, you don't know anything about actual issues. Yes, there are actual issues. Here's what they are. If you want people to respect you, maybe you should be respectable. It's not that hard to do that, but I think shaming works.
Yeah, like the problem with shaming isn't shaming itself. It's shaming when it's misdirected. Like it's a legitimate thing that societies maybe need to do. Like the arbiter is if it's justified or not. Anyway.
Yeah.
Did we have more thoughts on this article, or are we gonna
Let's move
hop
on.
over to the next one?
Well, I was
Talking about having like a lesbian version of this. I think it should be like a female symbol curb stopping a male symbol while grabbing like another female by the pussy. And like my Radfem version of the pin for that kind of pride. I'm wearing them ironically.
I thought the rainbow flag represented feminism now.
How about instead there's the female symbol and it's whipping the male symbol, and the male symbol is like driving a tractor to the court to sign over a contract where he will owe all of his money to women for the rest of eternity. Could we make it into that?
Or a male symbol in a slave ship. That's also works. Just cut to the chase.
Yeah, I mean, just a male symbol with like a fucking ball and chain around it. That's the feminist symbol. We have a new one.
Here's your balls back. Anyways, any further thoughts? Because I kind of wanted to save the last article as our like closing stupid of the week, unless you just want to get right to it.
Wait. So sorry. Say it again.
Oh, I was trying. I've been trying to say we should have like a cringe of the week, so I kind of saved our last story to be that.
Okay.
Closing out. This is our last like stupid thing to poke fun at kind of deal. So do you want to do that?
Wait. Yeah, but hold on. Somebody in the chat just said something. He says, "My difference with Mr. Prince over the 2004 election is that we were selected as the scapegoats, and too many people walked right into it." And yeah, what he's saying is true. That was it. Gay guys. We were baited as a community to like they were trying to manufacture outrage by upsetting the gays, and they knew that once the gays got upset and started having little like marriage marches when there was no possibility that we were going to get marriage in the year 2004. And so when gays started like protesting for their right to marry on the street when there was other issues, it was the dumbest fucking thing. And so I'm pretty sure that's what you agree with, Sato. And I don't think that we disagree all that much about that. So okay, let's move on.
Okay, so do you want to move on to just discussion, because that was the last article, unless you want to go right to our flaming dumpster fire of the week?
Yeah, flaming dumpster fire.
Okay, let's go to that. So apparently some straight guy is suing a gay gym after 3 guys jacked off in front of him in the steam room. And apparently the owner says every New York City gym has that problem.
I live in the wrong place.
Because every gym in New York City has this issue. Why are you singling us out? Why'd you choose us? God damn it.
Now
We
wait,
were trying to be cool. For decades, we were all just cool, kept it in the DL. Yeah, fuck it all up, put it in Gay Star News.
And then you actually masturbate in front of the one straight guy, you dumbasses.
Now, does this go up there with Farrell's second law, and that's basically someone's willingness to show it all off is inversely proportional to everyone else's willingness to see it?
Pretty much.
Ah, damn.
But like the way the story is written is actually really fucking funny because it's like.
Well, do you want to read it or should I?
I'll read you. I guess you've been reading a lot, and you kind of you're kind of sick of reading, right? So I'll read a little bit.
Already.
Okay. All right. A straight guy is suing a gay-friendly gym after 3 guys masturbated in front of him in the steam room. The man, referred to as GB in court papers, is suing the Equinox gym on Broadway in Gramercy Park. The single dad had gone to the New York City gym for a lunchtime steam room visit. You know, thought it was going to be just a normal trip to the steam room. He knew it was gay-friendly, but he figured it was going to be like, you know, I'm just there to, like, get naked and hang out, right?
And the low self-esteem room.
He was then shocked when he saw 3 men watching him while they were masturbating. I'm relaxing. I'm sitting in the corner. It's very meditative, he said about the first moments of the experience. The steam clears, and I look across from me. This gentleman, sitting pretty close, his towel is open, his legs are spread, and he's looking right at me. And the guy next to him was rubbing the man's inner thigh. The man told the New York Post. He's looking right at me. His towel is off, and he's masturbating, the man added. He then realized the 3rd man was looking at him, and he masturbated too. And as he masturbated, he left. It's just like,
it was
so
like
ridiculous.
1, 2, 3.
Right?
Ding,
That's
ding,
the
ding,
part
ding,
of it
ding.
where he's just sitting, he's just like, I'm looking around, I see the first guy masturbate, I think, maybe that guy is just weird. Then I see the second guy, and I'm like, shit. And then I see the 3rd guy, and I'm like, fuck this noise, like, fuck the gays. Like,
It's like a self-lighting menorah or something, where it's like with
right?
like
I'm just thinking, I have this movie.
Right? Like, shit, he just fucking pulled one of our VHSs and just stole it and turned it into a lawsuit because he knew that gays were shitty enough he could just accuse them. God, that should be a thing. And then here's where we have the star quote of the article. It's something every gym in New York City has an issue with. There's even a little pause in there, too. Like, the drama. I'm not even adding this drama. I'm just reading it as it's written. Like...
Well, okay, so
They had known issues for as much as 10 years prior to that similar wrongful acts. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's like 10 years of this.
no, let's just finish the article because we're almost done.
Okay. It is a problem, and it's something that every gym in New York City, not just Equinox, has an issue with. The manager of this specific Equinox stated in a recording found by the Post. The gym said that they have a zero tolerance policy regarding this behavior. The court case is ongoing. Maybe we can revisit this one, but like,
Well,
I see both sides of it.
Well, with a name like Equinox, are you really surprised that gay guys go there to masturbate?
Yeah. No. I see your point.
Wait, no, I don't get that.
It's just
Sounds
Equinox.
like a gay bar.
Yeah, or some sort of gay fucking photography blog or some shit.
I mean, I guess it sounds kind of gay, but like, I don't know. Like, for example, our gay bar here is called the Gay 90s. Like, there's no question, you know?
Do you know what Equinox sounds like to me? It sounds like some
Porn studio.
some trance song that would have been by some like 90s trance DJ by Paul Van Dyke or some shit like that, you know? Like do you guys remember those dudes?
Yeah, like either a trance song or like the name for a tranny.
I kind of think Paul Oakenfold had a song by that name.
Oh,
I could be wrong.
Equinox. It could have easily been. I maybe I'm literally thinking of something.
It would be the name of a festival, which is an off version of Burning Man. Equinox Man.
But okay, so about this story. I see both sides as well. So on the one hand, I would be a hypocrite if I pretended that I was against weird public sex type things, because I'm not. I've partaken in it in the past. I have been to the sleaziest of the sleazy San Francisco bars. I I used to hang out at this one bar, and apparently it's not like this anymore. But it used to be that like the smoking section in this bar, which by the way was about as big as what would be the back of a semi truck. So you know the trailer of a semi truck, and you go out there, and it wasn't even outdoors. They had a roof over it, but it was vaguely open, so it got to be the smoking area. You could go out there, and guys were always sucking dick. Like it would be hard to go out there and not see two guys sucking dick. But you could also go out there and see full on bareback butt fucking. And I one time saw, okay, so there's this guy, and my friend and I were talking to him. He was a particular like exhibitionist dude, and he would go out, and I think he would probably take Viagra, and he had a pretty big dick, so he would take Viagra and sort of stand there and just let guys suck his dick, and he was like into that. And my friend was friends with him, and he was actually kind of an interesting guy. He did theater stuff. He would do like musicals. So me and my friend were talking to him, and this this guy came up who I think he was like Mexican, and he didn't speak English or something, because he like dropped his pants and was leaning over and trying to get the guy to fuck him. And the guy that, with the dick out and everything, was saying, he was like, the guy that we were talking to, he kept saying over, he's like, sorry, I'm not into fucking, I'm really just into sucking. Sorry, not into fucking, really, really into fucking.
That was not the voice I expected.
Yeah, no, it was very Queenie San Francisco. And so he's like, sorry, not into fucking, just into sucking. Sorry, I'd prefer sucking, not so into fucking. But the guy,
Slide not sloppy.
But I don't think that the guy actually understood English. And so he's just like sitting there with his butt out in the air for like 30 seconds while the guy tries to tell him that he doesn't want to fuck him. And then after 30 seconds, the guy is like, okay, fine, and just sticks his dick in him and starts fucking him as a joke. Basically. And he starts like making this like bored looking face, and he's like, and then he starts he's like kind of rolling his eyes, and then he goes and like it was a joke, and he was looking at us, and then he stopped, and he was like, okay, thanks for coming, I hope you had a good time, or some shit like that after. So that's the level of public sex that I've been around like in my life. Like, so I don't have
a phenomenal story.
Yeah, I know.
Jesus Christ.
I'm starting to realize just how sheltered I've been.
I actually do have I won't say it's a similar story, but it is kind of a like a public sort of a thing. So I guess I was technically sexually assaulted. I really haven't shared this publicly, because like I don't really think it's that big of a deal. Technically, I could be up on like fucking #MeToo over this shit, because it was weird. But like I used to live in China because I was teaching ESL, and I had a gym membership, and like there was this gay Chinese dude. Like I was showering there, and like I got into the habit of always showering at the gym because the shower that I had at my apartment in China, it was like built fucking retarded. Whoever put the tiles in there was fucking retarded, and like the way that like Asian bathrooms are is like the bathroom or the shower isn't separate from the rest of the bathroom, right? So it has to like use gravity to get the water to go down the drain. But like the fucking mouth breathing retards who tiled our bathroom floor, it's such that like the water would go out of the bathroom and into the living room. So you'd have to like stuff towels but underneath the door to like keep the water in. And then you'd have to squeegee the water like into the fucking drain because it was fucking built retardedly because like nobody tested it. It was just like so like comically stupid. But anyway, so the point was I was always using the shower at the gym. And like I guess this Chinese guy like caught onto it. So one time I'm in there fucking like showering or whatever, I turn around and this fucking Chinese guy lands fucking mouth first on my dick. And I'm like, hey, like, don't. Like I don't want to fucking I don't wanna, like no thanks. Like bullshit. Like thanks for the offer, right? Just like anyway, like later fucking like yeah, it was just like ridiculous. Like he like apologized to me. He's like, I feel so bad. I feel full of shame, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, dude, just calm down. Like, don't fucking kill yourself over it. Like, just like leave it there or whatever. But it was so fucking weird. And then like I had another ESL teacher. Like, I mentioned this to them, and they were like, isn't that ironic since you're all into the men's rights shit? And I'm like,
What?
I mean, it's like, oh, so you're all anti-feminist. Isn't that kind of ironic? And I'm just like, actually, no, the feminists haven't done shit for me. You fucking give me one example, cunt, and you fucking shut a stupid whore mouth, fucking British bitch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll fucking totally side with the fucking Chinese man who sexually assaulted me over the fucking British cunt who fucking wants to say they're justifying feminism. And that's my life. But yeah, so anyway, this kind of reminded me of that. And like, and that's why I feel like I should have more sympathy for this guy, right? Because like I get it, like you go into a fucking place, he probably isn't paying to be a member of this thing and wants to just like have his experience there. And it is weird to have someone fucking like stare at you while you're fucking naked and like masturbate. And like, you know, people should be a little more respectful, I think. And I think that maybe like if we kind of legalized prostitution and like legalized drug use and legalized a lot of this shit, then you could just create, you know, spaces for that, and then people who are interested in that could just go do it over there. They're kind of like pushed into the public space. And it's the same with drug use too. It's like, oh, how come this fucker's driving around doing their drugs? And it's like, because it's harder to get caught that way, even though it's way more dangerous. And it, you know, and it's just such a stupid and unnecessary thing. But yeah, like I just like I think the strike I hear, he's kind of in the right, but like a lawsuit is just like, it's so overblown, and it's just such a crazy escalation when it's just something that like,
Yeah, who the fuck would bother?
I mean,
right?
The weird part. Yeah, it's like I feel like somebody's putting him up to it just because
he's probably a male feminist that can't deal with someone being masculine around him.
No, he's a single dad. I feel like there's hardly any way to be a single dad and still remain a feminist. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm sure there's exceptions, but you know what I mean?
Hey, stupid,
Like,
stupid makes no sense.
There could be, you know, far right religious groups that are trying to assert themselves in New York City. Culture happens first in New York City. Like it is the place. Like even before LA, it happens in New York. The trends that LA popularizes by Hollywoodifying them start in New York. So if there is going to be a, you know, sort of a make crazy homosexuality uncool again campaign, it could very well start in New York as the result of religious politicians putting people up to start lawsuits like this. Like that's not implausible. So but yeah, you know, part of going to so I think the problem here is sort of what you were saying about having spaces that are for things like this. I purposefully, when I lived in San Francisco, I only really went to this one gym. I had a membership from 24 Hour Fitness, but I would never go because I went to it a few times, and even though it wasn't that far from my house, the fucking place gave me a panic attack. I didn't. There was too many gay guys, not a whole bunch, but too many gay guys, and shower rooms, and a lot of music, and too much see and be seen, you know. And I didn't like that. but there was a gym that was more expensive, so I mostly didn't have a subscription there, or membership. That was closer to me, but more appealing than that. It didn't have a steam room, and pretty much no gay guys went to it. There were a
Hmm.
very small few, but not really. And that's the type of gym I wanted to go to, because that's the type of gym that, like, I could roll out of bed and go work out to burn off my hangover, you know? And that worked for me.
Oh, that's my
And
favorite kind.
Hangover, that sounds like the least fun thing ever.
oh, it sounds horrible, and it's but you have those days where you get drunk and you pass the fuck out, and then you sleep for like 6.5 hours, and you kind of wish that you could get more, but you just can't, and you can't sleep anymore, and it's fucking, I don't know, 11 a.m., and you're like, what do I do? Oh, I can literally just put on my shorts and go over to the gym, and then by the time you're done on that fucking elliptical machine after 30 minutes, you actually feel way better.
No, if
Yeah,
I'm in that
no.
situation, I just bitch and then I just stare at people with incredulous, unjustified looks.
Yeah,
Well,
That's like all I can. That's all I'm capable of. Those are the only calories I have strength for if I'm hungover.
yeah.
It's too hard.
If I went to my gym hungover, I would literally climb over the barbed wire fence and jump in front of Bart if that was the case.
well, I probably at the time was chugging a Monster energy drink before I do it. But I can't really remember. I can't remember the time in my life when I actually did crap like that. But I would. I definitely did do that. I also used to be young and good looking and have sex 5 times a week. So uh, regardless, that was not the space that I wanted to have these weird CD encounters. I have been to sex parties, but they were at private venues where like some of them were big, like there would be well over 100 people, but it would be a technically private space that technically wasn't open to the public, and you were more than aware that if especially if you went into these certain rooms that had futons on them, that you were potentially going to be propositioned or touched a little bit, and you needed to have boundaries if you didn't want to be touched. If it's at the gym, that's kind of weird. At the bar that I was at, that I told you guys about that weird story, I lived close to that bar, and that bar was well known for being the seediest bar in San Francisco in terms of this public sex stuff. And for some reason, it was okay to have anal sex there, more or less. Like the bartenders, if they would come out to, pick up glasses or whatever, they would usually tell guys, "Hey, take your dick out of him," but they wouldn't kick the guy out of the bar. Um,
Which bar was
uh,
this again?
it's called the Powerhouse.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that figures.
yeah, but it's not like that anymore, I guess. There was actually, it's not like that anymore because this crazy transgender fucking feminist uh who would go there a lot, she decided to start saying that every bar in all of Soma was transphobic, um because they didn't accept her enough, and now they don't even have the lights off out there anymore,
Oh.
so it's not the same. And they're really anal about, no pun intended, about the what's allowed to happen. But back
Well,
when it was really really seedy,
hmm.
um I would go there just because to me it was basically a neighborhood bar, and I had friends who would do DJ and drag nights there, and I would always get in for free because I was friends with one of the door people. And um I would go outside to smoke because I actually smoked. And so I'd go smoke in the smoking area. And there was this one particular corner, which is sort of like the dark corner. And I would have to remind myself that, like, not to, if it gets crowded, you can kind of get pushed into the corner if you're not with anybody. And I would often go out alone because it was a neighborhood bar. If you're alone and you get pushed into that corner and you're at all good looking, guys will just like get on their knees and start trying to unbuckle your fucking pants and shit, and like part of the onus is on you to like not let that happen, because it is that space, you know. Like I wasn't gonna like smack them or anything, but that happened more than once. It happened at least like probably 5 or 6 times that I sort of got pushed in that corner, and guys were thinking I'm standing in that corner because I wanted my dick sucked, and it's like, no, I don't actually. Oops, sorry, I'm gonna walk over here. So
How dare you?
Well, yeah, you got to free that space up because, like, you know, people want to suck dick and want to get their dick sucked. You're being selfish.
yeah, yeah, but there should be I'm fine with that bar existing. I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world to me if it didn't, but overall I'm pretty libertarian, and I think that people should have a right to have spaces like that. I don't know if this should be the gym, and if it is a gym, it should be very, very clear this is a sex positive gym or some shit. I don't know.
It's all because we don't have prostitution legalized. 100% of this falls on the assholes who don't want to legalize prostitution. That's my stance.
How dare you? It's somehow anti-feminist and anti-religion at the same time, or some bullshit. I don't know. I lived in Nevada for a few years, and everyone's kind of fine with the whole prostitution's legal if you go outside the city limits.
So, I think
Also,
that's all the articles.
yeah, that was all the articles, and also one last point I have to say about Soma is it's right now, since it's gentrified, kind of, it's basically an overpriced shithole right now for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm saying that from experience.
Well, I don't know if I told you this. Sorry, I just took another bite of my stupid burrito.
It's all right.
I forget that. So, there's a bunch of the bars. So anyone who's listening to this who's not familiar with San Francisco, which is probably most people, San Francisco has a long history of having gay leather bars. Leather as a subculture, I think, is sort of just maybe going extinct. Like, I just don't know if it's gonna really survive, at least not in the way that it has been. And it was really, really popular in San Francisco at the beginning of this decade and late last decade. It was like cool, and there was lots of guys that were like into this like leather, like dressing up in leather stuff, and all of the leather bars were in Soma. Not all of them, but generally they were in this neighborhood called Soma. And Soma was, you could still, if you tried, find cheap apartments in Soma, and it was kind of seedy, like crackheads running around and shit. And so it's like perfect for gay men that ride bikes and, you know, smoke cigars and shit like that, which there's actually a lot of in San Francisco, and a lot. Like, there, you can find a leather bar in certain cities, but in San Francisco you can go to a bar full of like 250 guys that are like that are like fucking smoking cigars and shit, you know, and you're like, whoa, it's like actually a thing I didn't realize. You know. So but now that neighborhood's being gentrified and is becoming expensive, because everywhere in San Francisco is pretty much fully gentrified, and the bars that were the old leather bars are struggling to stay in business, or if they're not struggling to stay in business, they are getting generous offers for buyouts from either other bars or property development. Places are trying to take over the bar and build condos upon them, and of course, there's a bunch of people that don't want that to happen, and so in San Francisco, they're trying to declare Soma into being some sort of a historical society neighborhood or some crap, where it's like a historic district in the way that Chinatown is. And in San Francisco, they apparently have a lot of these because they have a transgender district.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's Polk Street.
Mm.
or something. I don't really know. And basically what getting this status would do would somehow make it more affordable for these bars to stay open. Like maybe it would make it so that their rent will never go up or some crap. Um well, there's a committee that's organized trying to get the bars to declare themselves as this historic, the Soma's trying to declare itself this historic landmark area. And there's a committee, and it apparently is 40 men who are all on it. And then this one girl was trying to get on it. And she may or may not be somebody that's in my extended social sphere. She may or may not be somebody that I've actually met and hung out with a number of times. Anyhow, she was trying to get on this committee. And I don't have any reason to believe that she, as an individual, really had any ulterior motives in trying to get on the thing. But the guys on the committee apparently thought that she did. Apparently, they are having to deal with a bunch of fucking intersectionals trying to hijack and bully the gay male community. And the thing is, if there's any sort of last bastion of hardcore masculinity within the gay male culture, it's probably in the leather type crowd. That, or we're just gonna have to start a new one from the ground up. If the leather guys fall, then Gigtow is the new hope. You know what I'm saying? So these guys are aware that something's going on and that they're scared. I don't know if they know that the problem is feminism itself. Some of them have just turned full-blown paranoid misogynists, sort of, it seems. And so they kicked this woman off the committee and said that they didn't trust her, that they didn't trust her intentions, and they had little conspiracy theories about what why she was trying to be on it. I only saw the text that she had posted publicly saying, what had happened in terms of her being kicked off. But then what she was doing is she was saying, I don't think that it should be a bunch of white cisgender men making all the decisions. And it's
That's
well,
the
that's,
problem.
it's well, I mean, it's mostly cisgender gay men, mostly white, who go to these places. Well, lots of Latino guys too, because San Francisco actually has a lot of Latino guys. But there's definitely black guys and Asian guys that go as well. But I mean, I don't see why a woman, leather bars, they're dude places. That's just the fucking fact of the matter. The women who come in are absolutely tokens, and I don't know why they come in exactly. There's some women who frequent them, but guys have every right to be suspicious. And it's what motive do you have for wanting to be on this committee with these men who are trying to do something for the gay male community? And so you get kicked off. Well, okay, dry your tears or come up with a really, really good reason why you should be there, right? She didn't have any reason why she was there. What she did instead was say, yeah, I think it's messed up that it's all a bunch of white men, and who can I get some support from femmes and non-binary and trans people and people of color to support me and blah blah blah.
And the three of them that were in the room said yay.
No, this happened on Facebook.
Oh.
I ended up looking at her because it was a public post on her Facebook timeline, and there were all sorts of fucking intersectionals in the comments being like, we got you, girl, yeah. And then there was crazy fucking man-hating feminists saying shit like, if you're pissing off the cisgender gay men, you're doing something right. Keep going, girl, blah 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 blah. And it was oh my god. So at first, maybe this girl was a little bit misguided and trying to be overly involved in something that ultimately isn't her fight. But they kicked her off the thing. And I don't know if they had good reasons to do it or not. I just don't know. But once they kicked her off, then the really bad feminists saw it as an opportunity to use her in as some sort of a pawn in their political battle against the gay men of San Francisco, and it's escalated into some weird thing now. I haven't checked in on it. I'd love to know where it's at. And actually, one of the guests, whoever that Twitter handle that I was trying to get on for this show, he's going to come on sometime soon. Fozzy or something. Wait, hold up. What the hell is that guy?
Boozy? Like Boozy Tube?
No. Sir Fozzy C. The leather guy that's from Seattle. I'm gonna have to ask him if he knows anything about it, because Seattle and San Francisco, I'm sure the leather scene has a lot of overlap. But yeah, it's a crazy situation that we run into. Like, we had gay neighborhoods and now we don't really have them anymore, for several reasons. They're being priced out, and what they can't price out is being ripped apart from the inside out by feminism.
Like, yeah, one of the things this is in a script for one of my upcoming videos that I'm making over the weekend. It's the point I'm trying to make in the videos is everything that feminists call toxic masculinity when it applies to gay men is, for the most part, every after effect of them either destroying everything, or what people turn to when they've had like their like friend groups ripped away, their sense of self being utterly destroyed, everything that feminism says, oh, that's just toxic masculinity. It's like, well, you fucking caused a good chunk of it to even exist.
Like the drug problems and
Yeah, like drugs and alcoholism. It's like most people turn to that when you've had like your social circle, your sense of community, your identity just ripped away or destroyed. That's what a lot of people turn to. It's like, well, who fucking has been destroying every, whether it's gay, bisexual. Now they're finally turning on lesbians. I mean, shocker, it finally took this long for them to get turned on. But still,
Yeah.
it's like you're going through and ruining everything you possibly can to remake it in your image. It's like, well, no shit, people turn to drugs and alcohol to cope. It's like, and now you're calling it toxic to further beat people over the head with it.
So, Farrell, you haven't spoken up that much this time.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Kind of keeping an eye on the weather. We have tornado watches out all night tonight.
Oh no.
We have blizzards here in Minnesota. It's like all over the place weather-wise in the country.
Nice.
I saw a weather report. It was like battle of the seasons, and they're like record heat in the south and snow in the north. Like,
It was raining. It was raining today. I live in Seattle.
Yeah,
we had rain also, so just shut up, God.
Yeah, we actually had rain in California. We don't know what to do with it anymore.
Rain for everybody. No,
You know
so
what? I heard. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
the whole point is
no,
let
go ahead.
Farrell
I
talk
lost
more.
my thought.
No, the whole point was to let Farrell talk more. I'm gonna wait.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, I fucked it all up. Oh, God.
Oh, this is why we can't have nice things.
Were we gonna talk about this article about Grindr leaving men feeling depressed and dead inside?
Oh, I know. I forgot. Yeah, no, I forgot we were gonna do that. Let's do that one.
Oh, sure. Let me pull it up on the thing first. Hold on. I've if you haven't looked at the actual view screen, I have since gotten rid of the web view. So let me actually pull that article up. It's gonna take a minute, so talk amongst yourself or entertain chat. I don't if I can figure out what the hell I'm doing. God damn it! Where did I stick you? Please don't make sex jokes at my expense in the chat, please. Please don't. Actually, please do. I might use some of them.
Hold on one second. Getting a rare phone call.
Okay,
But the
boom,
reason
it's
this
up.
article is so interesting is because like the guy who wrote it, so he's physician and medical rhetoric at Harvard Medical School, right?
Um, this guy's
in
position.
research-
This guy's position is raging cunt, and I hate him.
Dude, I know. I was just gonna say. I was creeping on his Facebook a little bit, and it's like all in fucking like the transgender kids' rights and everything, and talks about how like transgenders kids' rights are under siege right now.
Oh, he's
But,
against,
like-
oh he's like, oh, pro like kids transitioning. Oh, great, now I have another reason to fucking hate him.
I mean, okay, I was just looking at it, and I was only reading headlines. So like all of this massive grain of salt, totally open to being corrected. Would love to be corrected, but that's what I've been seeing. I was just kind of scanning over it and just see.
All I know is this guy is a complete cunt, anyways, and he deserves all of our scorn.
Oh
This
my god,
article's kind of stupid
This
too.
blog, Queerty, is so bad.
God.
I actually was friends with somebody who I don't even know how. I wasn't actually friends with this person, but like, you know those gay guys who are like actually the biggest idiots on your Facebook friend list. That okay, maybe you guys don't have as many like random gay friends as I do, but
They all unfriended me.
Same here.
okay, those people that you come across on Facebook that'll actually post like little gifs that say "Bye Felicia" and shit.
Yes.
Like, you know, like just complete fucking idiots. He was like an editor for this fucking blog, and it was like, wait, you could actually like read and write? I couldn't quite tell. How are you an editor for a blog? And it was QWERTY, so.
Well, I mean, I've come across those guys, but not in that sense of the word.
So could you read the article?
Okay, I will be reading the article. Okay, so for chat, Grindr, it's the article, or, well, I'm not calling this an article, that's too generous. It's a brain fart blog post. Anyways, it's Grindr leaves gay men feeling depressed and dead inside, research finds. Let's get on. Jack Turbin is a physician and medical writer at Harvard Medical School where he researches gender and sexuality, where the best research is fucking done. In a new article published by Vox, where the best bullshit comes from, he says he's becoming increasingly worried by the rise of underground digital bathhouses. Apps like Grindr, with 3 million daily users, and others like Scruff and Jacked, are designed to help gay men solicit sex, often anonymously online, he writes. I am all for
Is that what it's for?
I guess so. I mean, I don't use Grindr, so I wouldn't know. I am all for sexual liberation, but I can't stop wondering if these apps are having a negative effect on gay men's health. I seriously do need glasses, guys. I'm waiting to buy those anyways. So he did a little research. So have I on various other subjects. Turbin created a profile identifying himself as a medical writer looking to speak to guys about hookup culture. He spoke to about 50 different guys. I'm surprised they actually gave a shit to talk about him. It's a small sample size, and for those of you watching, isn't statistically significant. He admits, but enough to give us some clues about how Grindr is affecting gay men, and it doesn't look good. It's only applicable to the people he interviewed. Anyways, any comments? Unless you want me to keep reading.
Oh, this was just an excuse to show that fucking artwork right there.
Oh, this cunt or this thing.
That little yep, still dead inside fucking thing.
Yeah,
I may or may not know that artist.
Yeah, my brain.
I definitely know. He's in my extended social sphere. The actual artist of that.
Well, I was just gonna say my brain kind of auto-tuned it out like I do Riley Dennis after 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it doesn't even look like it's like, oh, people bothered to actually make that thing.
I thought it was
though in fairness, it that piece of art was actually made like in probably 2015. So it's not like it's new.
I honestly
maybe
thought
even
it was mad,
yeah, right.
Probably why I tuned it out.
No, that shit's on t-shirts.
Oh, I still have not seen anyone wear that.
Yeah. I it's a Seattle-based artist, and I think that they wear it up here. I don't know why anyone. Anyhow. So keep reading the article.
Anyways, here's what he learned. Most guys said they liked the hookup app because it makes sex so accessible. With just a swipe of a finger, one can have access to hundreds, even thousands of sexually available men. If you pay $9.99 a month. The problem is, Turbin said that. Sorry, I've actually been drinking. So, anyways, the problem is, Turbin says that they can get addicted. Why am I fixing their English while I'm drunk? Anyways. Neuroscientists have shown that orgasms cause activation of pleasure areas of the brain, like the ventral, I'm not going to mispronounce that, area, while deactivating areas involved with self-control. No shit, that's how an orgasm works. And these patterns of activation in men are strikingly similar to what researchers see in the brain of individuals using heroin or cocaine. So when a neural action like clicking grinder is paired with a pleasurable response of the brain and orgasm, humans learn that the action over and over again. So basically, we're going back to like Catholic style Puritanism because sex be bad unless it's making a baby. I'm guessing is where
Pretty
feminism's
much.
going these days.
No, it's just fucking communism is ultimately what it I think it kind of is.
Who died and made you me?
No, yeah. It's true. I agree with you about this. We've had this talk before. Like I told you about the book that like if anyone needs to actually make the connection between feminism and communism, because that's not something that people just sort of
red feminism, right?
yeah. It's
Oh
not
my
something.
God.
It's not something that people just sort of say and we're just wacky, like, potential crazy right wing people. I'm not even right wing. Space Pan is fucking anarcho capitalist, which people bracket as right wing, even though it doesn't have to be necessarily. It's its own little thing.
Yes, it does. Shut up. It's to the right of the entire political spectrum.
Well, no, but it's not. Okay, fine, whatever. It doesn't matter. It depends on how you define right.
Like, okay, the political spectrum is the spectrum of how you should treat your slaves, and I'm against owning slaves. Like, that's the parallel.
yeah,
I'm
but
against the state. The political spectrum of like how you have your state. So
I
it's
know.
to the right. I'm done. Sorry.
We're not gonna do the philosophical difference between left and right. I don't consider myself right wing. But regardless, when I say that feminism and communism are like inextricably tied to each other, that's not just like some sort of like wacky thing that I'm sort of saying that you can ignore. They have okay, first of all, the roots of feminism are what we know of feminism, what we know as feminism to this day. You can find them fairly easily, and I would say one of the best starting points is this book that I have called Red Feminism. Red Feminism makes the case, and keep in mind, this book came out in 2001 and was written by a radical Marxist feminist who, she says that she doesn't want communism. She certainly wants feminism. But she doesn't want communism like Soviet Union communism, but she wants something kind of like that. She certainly wants feminism. And then she argues the case that what we know, that what we would call feminism to this day, what started sprouting up in the 1960s all through the current year, was rooted in the work of women from about the 19 teens through up through the McCarthy era. And so through, I don't know, like 1915 all through the late 1940s, there was a communist party in the United States that was existing even back then, but didn't have a whole lot of members. And among the members would always fight. And so there were the American born, communists, and then there were the Russian immigrant communists, and the Russian immigrants and the Americans would fight about what communism should be. And they had cultural differences amongst them anyway. And then the black people would fight with everybody and say, well, you guys are racists. So there's a lot of infighting. And due to the infighting, then various women started saying, well, what about us? We should be more equal as women because because you can't have communism without competing over who's the most oppressed. It's just that always happens, like in every communist party, like and every communist movement. If you look at the lives of I was just watching the movie Frida, just because I like it as a movie. It doesn't. There's a lot of historical inaccuracies, but it was about Frida Kahlo, who is married to Diego Rivera, the painter, and he was actually the president of the Communist Party in Mexico City, and he was constantly being accused of being a tool of the rich bourgeois and blah 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 blah. So there's always this like infighting about who's the most oppressed and blah blah blah. And then in America, there was all these different demographics of types of communists, and there weren't really all that many. By the end of World War II, there was only 60,000 members of the Communist Party in the United States, which, if you think about how big our nation is and the fact that this was pre McCarthy era, when when it was still like acceptable to be a communist, like it wasn't career ruining, that's not that many people. And so the one thing that they all had in common is that they could all agree about the poor fragile women's, like every time, every with be it Russians, Americans, Black Americans, there were all women, and they could all say, "Oh, these poor women," and from that, the women's interests survived through the 1950s and resurfaced in the 1960s into a women's movement that so now feminism is this and there was a massive amount of work of from American communist women in 1915 through all through the 1940s of really really powerful females within the Communist Party who were fighting to make the American Communist Party recognize women more. And that was something that had never probably really happened in the history of communism. Prior to communism existing in America, uh, it was always about economics and about the working people. But when it happened in America and uh, there was all this infighting, somehow women's issues ended up being championed as a universality. And uh, and to the point where there's communist feminist authors making the case that it was communism itself that is responsible for the current feminist movement. And when we tie that all together with things like Grinder, okay, they don't want us on Grinder, and if we are gonna have Grinder, then well, women have to be allowed. They don't want us to have gay bars. They have to be queer bars, which really just means intersectional feminist safe space bars, which really means it can be open to anyone who's non-binary, which means it can be fucking straight people. They don't actually want gay spaces because communists hate gay people, especially gay men. Why? Because gay men are not productive to the women and children in their society. Gay men are inherently selfish as a demographic in the way that they aren't uh it's hard to get gay men to do anything besides for their own self-betterment and maybe for their boyfriend and some of their family members, but they're not going to have kids. They're not going to want to like build some sort of utopian society for their children to live in or blah 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 blah, like all the weird crap that you can probably convince straight people to do and be communists doesn't really work on gay men. So we're just an inconvenience, and so they have to try to eradicate us. And they kind of know that, and it does seem like we're seeing the signs of this.
Well, I mean, honestly, what do we get out of the feminist republic of Queeristan if we, went along with it? We get what? Alcoholism, depression, feeling like we're less than. I mean, that's what we've been left. That's what everyone's been left with. That's
We get our masculinity stripped away from us.
Yeah.
That's what it really boils down to.
We get to have sex with women who maybe got their tits chopped off and went on testosterone, and we get to stick our penises in their vaginas. Except for actually, they're gonna stop taking the testosterone, and we're just expected to believe that because they identify as male, then we should stick our penises in their vagina because reasons.
Wait, so you're saying that for these women, it's kind of like conveniently missing your birth control, but like the gay version.
Pretty much.
I just wanted to get, there was one part of this article that I really wanted to single out because like it's so fucking stupid, and like I don't understand how. I don't know if this is the fault of this original researcher Jack Turbin or if it's just the editor, but there's a point in this article a little bit down near the beginning. It says the problem is, Turbin says, it can be addicting. Neuroscientists have shown that orgasm causes activation of pleasure areas in the brain, like the ventral tegmental area, while deactivating areas involved with self-control, blah, 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 right? But the argument is that, like, you load up Grindr, right? And you're using Grindr and using Grindr's mechanics, right? Like, you're, like, I don't know, like, adding people to your fucking shit, fucking chatting people or whatever, and that this is activating and being related to the pleasurable response of the orgasm in your brain, as in you're literally orgasming while you're using Grindr, right? But like the point of Grindr is to find sex. You're having the orgasm while you're having the sex. It's not why you're using the fucking Grindr. So like this whole argument is just stupid. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it might be true on like a really subconscious level, but the way they're describing it in this article, it doesn't make sense to me. It's like they're literally describing it like you fucking swipe left and then just fucking cum your pants. And it's like, that wasn't my experience.
So is that why I need to pay the extra $10 a month?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess I didn't pay the premium fee. Is that what I'm missing? I guess that's what I'm missing.
Gotta be.
Shit, I'm
But
just
no,
too stingy. We're just too stingy to take advantage of this. We need to make a stingy version of Grindr, I guess.
I'm such a cheap ass. Now the thing that's really bothering me about this is, first off, he's making the very big assumption that everybody is just extremely lucky on Grindr.
Yeah, I've maybe had sex with 2 people on Grindr.
Yeah, and I mean that's just not the case. I think if anything, what depresses people about it is they're sitting on their ass, not doing anything, waiting for someone to show up.
Well, I mean, and also
I've had Grindr hookups.
Or
I guess, yeah. Put a fucking scarlet letter on me, I guess. And like, yeah, and like honestly, a lot of them, like at the end of the fact, I'm just like, oh, that was kind of meaningless and retarded. Like, maybe the fucking Christians at the Christian school I had a couple of points, but they package it with their fucking religion and I don't take the package deal. And like, that's a huge tragedy in gayness. Is like, we really should kind of critically look at a lot of these other paradigms, especially more traditional ones, and like we should totally be encouraged to cherry pick rather than to reject wholesale these entire things. And like I think that that's something that a lot of people, particularly if you're not religious, we throw the baby out with the bathwater.
But
like we have to realize that a lot of religious things are useful for reasons, and the point is to identify the reasons.
But if we start cherry picking philosophies, we might cherry pick feminism, and then there goes intersectionality and all of its bullshit.
But you can cherry pick feminism. You totally can.
Yeah, that's what they don't want us doing, because that's not how the religion keeps going.
Oh, right. No, I'm saying blaspheme all the religions. I'm saying, like, just take of them what you want and just totally bastardize them and just, like, leave them on the fucking corner. And, like, if people say, oh, you didn't do the whole thing, it's like, I don't fucking care. I just took what I wanted. I get to be an atheist. I get to have my cake and eat it, too, literally by definition.
Yeah, I'm saying do that, too. I'm just being a sarcastic cunt and giving the devil's advocate.
Gotcha. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe I was just being a little bit aspy there.
I mean, honestly,
I was being in character as my amore self.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
guess.
I mean, I've thrown away a Bible after reading it, and yeah, so I've done some.
Right, I just think it's retarded. I'm just like, how?
I remember when I threw my Bible away. I actually forgot I had it that day, and then I found money in it because apparently that's where I stashed money, and then I threw away the Bible.
I wish I found money in a Bible.
Well, I mean, it was my money, and it was my $40, and it went to burritos or something after that.
Did you guys see that? was it Benjamin Boyce or was it Matt Christensen who there was some fucking Antifa person that you really couldn't tell if this was somebody who was biologically male or female, because whatever they were, they probably were on hormones to become the other, and they went to some like gun store in Olympia, and they had free Bibles or some shit. And
Oh yeah, I saw.
Yeah, I saw it. No, you know what it was?
Fucking
It
saw
was
that.
on Aiden Paladin did a video about it.
I think she did too. I think a number of them did.
Yeah, it was about low energy leftists. That's the one I'm thinking of. So I could be mistaken, but if that's not the one you're thinking of, like, because it was just like yeah, it was like a tranny person, and they like thought they were gonna protest the Bibles, and the guy there was like totally cool. He was like, take as many as you want. I'll help you, bitch. Like, I'll fucking help you carrying them out here. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. Just get the fuck out of here. Like, stop fucking with me, right? Like, he was cool.
And the guy's and the person's like, can I throw them on the roof? And he was like, I would prefer that you don't do that or some shit. Like, yeah, that was So let's go back to this article. Farrell, you were a neuroscientist.
Oh, no, it wasn't.
But you studied neuroscience.
Yeah, I'd consider going into medical school, but it didn't work out that way.
Okay.
But doesn't mean it's not fascinating, but go ahead.
Well, I'm just curious, like, is there any, so, fucking, we know things like this can get addictive. We know gambling and slot machines can get addictive. We've known that for a very, very long time. We've known that for several decades. I can tell that I am addicted to Overwatch. There's a reason why it was so easy for me to quit drinking and stay quit. I'd quit for, maybe like a month, and then I found Overwatch, and it was easy to just not go back to alcohol because I wanted to be good at Overwatch. And when you win a competitive match, they have like all these flashing lights, and there's like numbers that go up like a slot machine, and it's like all like, it's so thrilling. And like these kind of things obviously do trigger a neural pathway, chemical dopamine fucking rush type of reaction. And so sure, the action of going on Grindr is obviously going to do that if you're seeking sex partners, and sex by itself can be addictive. People become addicted to sex. That's not new either. So none of this stuff is new. What's the new information here? Is there anything that's new that you're finding? Because I'm not. For me, it just seems like yet another assault on gay spaces, justified by way of fucking academic jargon.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. The only thing new is the propaganda.
Well, I'm really not seeing anything new in it, and that's what you're saying is basically what I am. There is a lot of propaganda to this. It's just, well, kind of ridiculous.
I'm just wondering when feminism's going to start making people wear like burqas and habits and shit just to cover up and not feel the sin of an orgasm or a boner or whatever.
Man, burqa's going to make drag easy for a lot of people.
Right?
Or a bunch of drag queens will get confused with umbrellas like that one guy.
You just converted to Islam because you're fat. Fucking bitch. Acting all fucking pious in your fucking burqa. Because you just want to hit the fucking gym and be a fucking proper Catholic tranny.
But I'm kind of noticing something else in this article, too. It's almost like they're...
You cut out there. Or was that me?
I think it's you. Space
Oh, fuck.
Did you hear me?
Because we have the blizzard. Shit. Sorry, I'll shut the fuck up. Go on.
Hold on, mic check. Testes. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So anyway, one thing I am seeing about this article is if you look in that quote near the bottom there, for some users I talked to, the alert grinder, blah, 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 they said that users told me when they log on they feel sad, anxious, or lonely. They're basically capitalizing on male unhappiness here, if you really think about it. It's not they're not looking into the actual causes, they're just trying to pin it on their latest boogeyman.
Oh, so like the wage gap, basically?
Yeah, in a way.
So it's the wage gap of sex, base, more or less.
The nookie gap. But no, I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase this. Basically, they're making a play at the fact that, well, a lot of us gay guys do go through depression. A lot of us do have body images and stuff like that. But they're twisting that and trying to pin it on their boogeyman instead of on what the actual causes may be.
So
Does
true.
that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I've actually I was texting Cats this, but I'm actually kind of making another PSA style video as to, problems that gay men have, and I guess by extension by men, because, well, they treat us like we're the same, but we're really not. But that's just studies for you. Anyways, it was going into like all the statistics surrounding like all the health issues and depression, and doesn't go into too much where it comes from other than body issues, but it's. I don't think the NIH would keep getting their funding if they actually went into the issues as to where some of this shit comes from.
There's actually a lot of good points there too. Because like when I looked at this article, for me, I just kind of honed in and I was like, okay, what is this guy's argument? What is he trying to build, right? And then I was all in on like, okay, he's trying to connect this depression to Grindr, right? And I'm like, well, this is retarded. But then like I totally missed the fact that like bottom line is these men did express to him like, yeah, like we feel like shit and we're fucking depressed and we want to fucking die. And like that's a legitimate problem. Like even if he's misidentified the cause of it, like that was totally missed on me as like, oh, these people are still suffering and there's still a problem here. And like it's not just bad that we have this like red herring, but like the red herring is also bad because it means that we're missing out on what could actually be the cause of this, and we're actually missing out on real solutions. And I guess now that I'm stating it's more obvious, right? But like my approach was so much so like, oh, let's just attack the argument, and like I kind of missed the human aspect of it. So I'm glad that you had kind of tussed that out a little bit.
That's just what really stood out to me. Only thing is, oh, go ahead.
No, I want to hear you haven't. I talk a lot. You don't.
All right. Basically, I'm just saying, or what I was going to say is that I'm still at a loss on what we can do to take care of these issues. We need some freaking research, is what we need.
Yeah. Well, when they just there's small things that we can do. For example, in Seattle in the 1990s, we had a number of. So there was a lot of nonprofits that were GLBT, LGBT, but were actually mainly centered for gay men. And maybe this had to do with the being in the AIDS and post-AIDS era. So people were really, really concerned about providing money for basically to stop the transmission of AIDS and HIV, right? And there's a very high population of gay people in Seattle. And, so one of the things that they did was there was a lot of nonprofits that didn't just do HIV and AIDS testing and didn't just do meth and alcohol recovery and stuff, which they did. But they also they organized positive activities for gay men. And so they would have these like I went to this thing when I was like 17, and it was a game night where we would play like Pictionary and Taboo, and it was like a social thing, and there was no alcohol, and they had it at some kind of a coffee house nonprofit center place.
That actually sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, I would go to it now. Like, like at the time I was kind of like, I wish I could just go to a bar, but I have to go to this, but now I'm like kind of would go to that. Like I actually would want to go to it. And we had things like that. We had this one that I went to, this one was weird. I was just like walking down the street. I think I had gotten off of work and a friend of mine was going to it. They were playing, it was some like weird tag game that was in this church where like they turned off all the lights and like somebody was supposed to be like a robber or something, or like a murder. It was like murder mystery or something. I ended up fucking playing it. and I actually caught the guy who like but it was this like elaborate thing, and it was organized by this gay men's nonprofit, and like it sounds kind of silly and stupid, and I'm sure most people would think that it was, and mostly would still just want to go to the gay bars, but like at least we had that, and now in its place we have queer comedy nights, which I also went to in Seattle,
Yay.
where they make fun of white men.
Gee, that sounds
You know?
fun.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, something can change. Like I and like, fucking hell, even if the feminists maintained their power over the organizations, if they at least had those little, well, no, they don't get to like maintain their organizations and have those little game nights, because then they would make it wouldn't be fun to play Pictionary with a bunch of PC people and nobody would come, so if you're gonna, if it's all gonna be SJWs. The fun of it was that this was the 1990s when gay guys were still bitchy and un-PC, and there wasn't a single fucking lesbian in the room, and that was like why it was actually fun to play, Pictionary and Taboo.
I don't know. Maybe to run out the SJWs, we can play Cards Against Humanity or something.
Oh, that actually reminds me. I actually did go to one of those stupid game nights, and they're like, "Oh, we can't play Cards Against Humanity because someone might get offended." Like they
Dude, there's a
legitimately
proper
said that.
article. Yeah, dude, I had I used to have, she used to be kind of like my best friend in high school. And like eventually after I discovered all the MRA shit, she like sent me a Jezebel article and an Al Jazeera article, and then unfriended me, right?
Oh,
Like as
God.
if these were arguments, and I was like, these don't make any sense. These don't address anything. Can you actually discuss it?
Did
She's
she
like,
say
I don't
that-
want to talk about it. It's not my job to educate you.
Yeah.
That kind of shit, right?
I was about to say, let me guess.
Right? And it's like she's a total fucking like science major kind of person who's like totally in with the fucking government, and how like basically scientists are just frauds who like need the government to fund their fucking hobbies so they never have to get real jobs. That's my opinion on scientists. Just blanket statement. Deal with it.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say that about feminists.
Fuck it. I don't fucking fuck them. I don't care.
So why is it the people that tell you that it's not their job to educate you seem not to get that themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, right? But
It's
anyway.
like, look, I want this in writing, lady.
Well, what sucks about that whole thing is that like I've actually I don't know if I made a video about this, but I've written about it in the past. That statement came from a legitimate place. Like it had a 5% truth to it, which is now morphed into this like snowball gigantic tumor of like not of that doesn't make any sense anymore. What it came from was, this notion that it's nobody's job to educate you. And therefore, if you hear about something that you haven't learned about, it's not hard to educate yourself, especially with the internet. And so you can spend time on your off time so that you don't have to waste somebody else's time on the internet. And that makes sense, but it shouldn't be used as a way to say I'm right, you're wrong, because reasons, and I don't have to even prove that I'm right.
Well, that reason is because
like
I'm offended.
yeah, or whatever. But I've said this before in videos. This is something I've certainly said before, but I will say it again just in case nobody knows. If somebody ever tells you it's not my job to educate you in an argument, the proper response is to say, no, it's your job to prove that you have educated yourself so that maybe we can take you seriously.
That's better than my answer. I typically go for good.
Yeah, right. Good. I don't want you as a fucking teacher. Like,
I know, I'm
and
petty like that,
nothing
though.
else. And it's like, okay, like it's not my job to educate you. And it's like, okay, like send me a link. Is that educating me? Like I'll read it myself. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's so much gray area there, and it's just like such a ridiculous way to go about it. But the principle of the argument is like, yeah, as Prince had explained, that in theory, it kind of helps cut down some of that bullshit. But yeah, I'm trying to remember. But there was another point I wanted to make, and it was like right before I'd mentioned that friend of mine who had like disowned me over becoming an MRA, basically. and it was like a surreal kind of moment because I just like couldn't understand why. Because all she sent me was a fucking Jezebel article, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like, you're not this stupid. Like, how do you take this serious? Like, I don't, and I'm still like bewildered to this day.
Well,
I
I
don't
think
know.
no, I had because I had the same experience. Like I had like when I first actually discovered MRAs and actually decided that it like my eyes wouldn't melt if I decided to like look at their pages and give them a chance, you know? Um when that happened to me, I was completely amazed by how just obviously they were winning the argument. It was because I'm I come from a very logical family. My dad was a computer scientist. I have a my degree was in studying things and talking about things in a very critical and fair way, and I had some pretty smart teachers in college, and it's just been a part of me. I've been able to uh I've never been easy to mind control, and I've certainly been in environments where when it could have happened. And so when I finally found the men's rights arguments, it was just like, even though I had been conditioned my whole life to not look at them mainly it was just like, oh no, those people are bad, don't listen to them. um I I had my reservations about some of it, but and then and they would make these certain claims, and I would think that they likely weren't necessarily true. But then every time I would look into the numbers and I would see what they were talking about, and then it got to the point where like when I first started looking at the arguments, I was just like, wow, at least 75% of the men's rights argument talking points are completely valid, and it's so obvious to me, just looking at this on the surface, and there's so many talking points, and there's so many valid talking points. That's where I was at immediately, and I naively thought in my head, and maybe it's because these were issues that affected me as a male, that some of my feminist friends would want to hear about these, because they always said that they cared about men, and that they cared about gender issues, and I figured that they were probably just as ignorant as I was, and that they just had never actually seen the arguments, and that once they did, they would have the same reaction that I did. And that's
Yeah, that happened to me too. I had the exact same fucking experience where like
Oh
I
no,
find
that's
my first,
adorable.
yeah, I find my first men's rights argument. No, seriously, when I had first discovered this shit, it was like right around the time. It was around the time when the "Don't Be That Guy" and "Don't Be That Girl" poster campaigns were happening in 2013. And like Karen Strawn and Paul Elam, they had both interviewed Molyneux at some point, like in that year, and like that was how I got stuck into all this bullshit. And like it was like crazy because at first I was like totally fucking naive. I was just kind of casually going through it, watching a couple of Karen Strawn videos, like whatever. Like that was just part of my YouTube appetite. Like it used to be all libertarian shit, added a little bit of men's rights shit, right? So then like I go in and I see conversations on Facebook about gender issues, and I'm like, hey, do you guys realize that if you factor in prison rape, men are raped more often? And then like everyone's this fucking like head spinning, exorcism style, ectoplasm spewing, fucking demonic bullshit directed at me. And then like that was shocking because I didn't realize that Karen Strawn was so fucking edgy. Which like in hindsight, like okay, I can kind of see it. Like people who maybe were a little bit more in tune would be like, oh yeah, fuck this kid. But like I was legitimately trying to be like, I didn't understand. Like I was at that point where it's kind of like the I call it the coffee shop anti-feminist stage, where you think that it's only third or fourth wave feminism that's the problem. Once you realize that second and first wave feminism were total bullshit from the beginning, 100%, literally nothing can be good. Nothing good can be said of the women's movement. Like the women's movement doesn't compare favorably to Nazis. Like that's legitimately true, and like that's really fucked up that that's true.
Well,
But the women's movement does not compare favorably to Nazis. And like anyway, I eventually got to that point, but like they treated me like I was already at that point, and it wasn't fair because I wasn't at that time.
yeah. I had a very, very similar thing where I was completely new. Okay, so like I looked at the article, or the articles, the evidence, or the arguments. I looked at the arguments for long enough. I probably spent a good let's say 15 hours, or maybe let's even say less. Let's just say 10. 10 hours watching YouTube videos and reading articles or so, and like gathering what MRAs were actually saying and looking into numbers, because, oh gee, I don't know, it's not that hard. I have a fucking university degree. I don't know. I don't need to just read fucking some book like MRAs are for everybody or something. Like, like, why don't I do the research for myself in my own way, in a way that will be convincing for me, and try to debunk it with my head, because I had been told my whole life that MRAs are homophobic. So I have that in me, right? But I couldn't see any sign of it. I never saw the actual MRA who was actually homophobic. I saw a few like, I remember looking at Roosh V interviewed by Karen Strawn. I think that might have been one of the first times I actually really listened to Karen Strawn. No, not the first time, because but I had heard about, Roosh V being this horrible misogynist, and I think I was like, well, this Karen Strawn, she seems reasonable. Why don't I listen to him be interviewed by her? And by the time I finished that interview and maybe, lurked a little bit in comment sections and stuff like that, I realized that nobody really particularly likes Rushvi all that much in the men's movement. Like, nobody actually takes him seriously as any sort of leader. And like, he maybe he has like the occasional like semi sort of good idea about one or two things occasionally, but mostly he just embarrasses people. And like, that's sort of how things were. And but even still, I only was buying about 75% of it at that time. And all I wanted to do was say, like, hey guys, they make some good points. They do actually have some valid things. And it wasn't even like the exorcist scene, the ectoplasm head spinning freak out thing that you described.
That's what I got.
I know. I didn't get that. What I got was immediate quarantine. Feminists alerted each other, told each other to block me. And one of them even posted publicly, "Oh no," and she tagged a friend that we were both friends with. I'll call her Catherine. And they say, "Oh no, Catherine, we're even losing some of the gay boys. I'm going to block you in a second, but people need to know," or some shit like that. And it was like, huh? Like, you mean
That's fucking bizarre.
Yeah, like, you mean I looked at things I was not supposed to know about? And it just, and even to this day, I don't know exactly what was going on in their heads at the time. Like, what I wonder is, like, if I'm charitable, they were thoroughly trained by somebody into thinking that anybody who's even willing to examine the arguments of men's rights advocates is a bad person. Like, somehow I'm morally corrupt because I even gave MRAs the time of day. That's the charitable explanation for that reaction. But the non-charitable is that the people who tried to quarantine me and to try to socially ruin my reputation in that moment, and it was only a few, it was probably only 3 or 4 at the most, that they're actually fairly aware of the MRA arguments, and that they're just so incredibly selfish and awful that they're willing to do horrible things, like try to ruin the reputation of honest people, because they realize that honest people are a liability to their movement of female supremacy.
Well, that's what you get for wandering off the plantation, brah.
Exactly.
So yeah, I don't know. It's probably somewhere in between those two extremes.
Since you mentioned it, I did want to have a couple of thoughts on Roosh V. One, I think Roosh V is too cute to be a good PUA. Like, show me a PUA who's like fat and super like homely and like not even cute in the way a fat boy can be cute, right? And then he's like, yeah, I got fucking dank pussy all the fucking time. Like, I'll hear what he has to say. That's interesting. But like Rushvi, he's fairly conventionally good looking. Like, it's not convincing. You know what I mean?
I'd probably fuck Rushvi. Like,
Right? Oh my god, I got
I'm
so
not like,
much
I'm not
shit.
like into
I
it.
got so much shit for saying I thought, yeah, he's okay looking.
No.
He's
No.
like,
I've
what?
I've done worse than Rushvi. Yeah.
Oh, I've done way worse, but that's not the point.
Yeah,
The
I've
point
done-
is
I've
the
done
second
too.
point I wanted to make at Rushvi. The second point is even funnier, which is recently. This was, I think, in 2017. Yeah, it was 2017. It might have been very early 2018, but I believe it was 2017. He had a fucking debate with Brittany Venti.
We
right?
talked about that this like fucking last episode.
No, we didn't. Did we?
We've talked about it on air. Yeah.
Oh, did we? Oh,
It's
fuck.
kind of funny. I was trying to watch
Dude.
it. Yeah, because you recommended it to me, and so I ended up watching it.
It's funny
was-
every time. Brittany Venti fucking won in
But I couldn't actually watch it because it was one of those stupid blood sports streams where it wasn't even like they were actually trying to even potentially listen to where he might be coming from.
That's fair.
They were trying to put words into his mouth, and it was boring. It's like, okay, I don't like watching people put words into someone's mouth for 2 hours straight. So I got about 20 minutes into it, and I was just like, this is boring. But
You missed the best parts.
I know. And I do think Brittany Venti is funny and charming. I enjoy her, and I would prefer her and him to just fucking scream at each other for 2 hours without, somebody with an agenda trying to, make it veer it towards being some certain thing. You know what I'm saying?
No, I hear what you're saying, and like I wish it had been more like a conversation because I know that the Bloodsports thing it's kind of a crapshoot in a lot of ways, but like sometimes they do have really awesome pairings and they do have great conversations, and I wish that was just more of the fucking standard. Like just this week we had Nick Fuentes versus Atheism is Unstoppable on the gun control debate, and that was actually a really interesting debate. Like there were actually a lot of really cool arguments on both sides. Actually, Nick Fuentes also debated Styx Hexenhammer, which was super interesting because Nick's nickname is the knife and Styx Hexenhammer is the spoon. And like Styx fucking comes out in like a white robe with a fucking spoon in his lapel to like do his fucking thing because he's like fucking pagan. Anyway, that was like the funniest shit of my life. I have the best life is the point of the story. Thank you.
Anyways, before we conjure up the blood sports people, it's we've been doing this about 2 hours. Do you think we should wrap it up before they start descending like locusts?
I don't really.
Oh fuck ever! They don't care that much.
I don't know. There's potentially always an eye on anywhere that I might ever be. But
I guess looking at the fucking Honey Badger drama, like there definitely are people who are just like really, really desperate to see drama where it isn't there.
Oh God.
We'll talk about anything having to do with drama in private regarding that. So I don't really have that much more to say about the grinder thing.
Neither do I.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I think we kind of clarified that. This comic was kind of funny though. The quick grinder comic was like, "Yep, still dead inside." I don't know.
Well, I mean,
But it was
I'm still dead
succinct.
inside. And after this stream, I'm gonna go fill it up with some greasy meat.
Okay, well,
I think that's what the app is for.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. I have been Prince of Queens. This has been Gaytriarchy number 6. Next week we're gonna have a little bit more of an organized show, and we will probably have a special guest, and our Cat's Gay will be back.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Oh my god, next week is gonna be 420. We have to have it like weed themed.
Okay, well, I'll see what I can do.
We gotta play some MIA. We gotta play fucking WikiLeaks on a loop and fucking and do all the legal drugs.
Are you trying to get us a community guidelines strike? Because that's how you get a community guidelines strike.
Is there a Fifth Amendment on YouTube? Because I think we need one.
No, this is a corporation.
Unfortunately, no.
This is a corporation. That our rights don't apply here.
Well,
Alright.
someday Ron Paul is gonna create a fucking alternative to YouTube, and we're all gonna be safe there. It's good to have dreams.
All right, thank
You guys keep it easy. Sorry.
Thank you and good night.
Okay, good night, everybody.
Not everyone.